Today, I was hoping to cover a couple things, including the last quiz. And that quiz isn't going to be due for another week or two, something like that. But I wanted to cover it anyway. And then answer talk about attendance and cardboard. Uh, I think we have a couple volunteers who are going to do a little bit of the tools of artistic critique. And then I'm going to open it up for any further questions from everybody. Again, I got to apologize. I'm sorry for the confusion over the cardboard thing. Does everybody understand what the solution is?
I believe so.
Okay, how many different options did I give people? Anyone remember?
Definitely at least two. There might have been a third in there.
Yes, thank you. Yes, there were three options. First option is if you are already working on your slot and tab construction for the cardboard sculpture, you can continue that and you'll turn it in just where it says texture tiles and texture tiles for the discussion. You will take a photo of it and turn in your sculpture instead of the texture tiles. Second option is if you don't want to work on the sculpture anymore, you want to go to the texture tiles, you'll just do them until you put your time in, and you'll take photos of both of those and put both photos, either submit them as the finished project. You will submit both photos for the discussion and for the texture tiles project. And then the third option is to just focus on the texture tiles. The tiles I've been telling everybody were 6 inches by 6 inches. That's wishful thinking. They are only 4 inches by 4 inches. If you've already been doing 6-inch ones, go ahead and just make the rest the same size. And I think that'll be just fine. The other thing that caused some confusion is that in the module, it just talks about using cardboard. I would like you to use whatever you want. If you want to make textures with beads and grass and the carcasses of small insects or whatever you want to do, that's perfectly fine. And sometimes it's kind of nice. Last year, one of the students would go on walks with her family a couple times a week, and she got everybody involved finding stuff for textures, and she used those to develop the textures on her texture tiles. And she ended up making quite a few of them that were very interesting. Right, does that make sense to everybody? I hope it does. Is there anybody who has further questions on that? Alrighty. For the attendance, oh yes, you have a question?
Yeah, for the texture tiles, do they all need to like match and be the same, or are they all different?
The only thing that should be consistent is the size, and that's it. Okay, so like I said, I've been telling people 6 by 6, but it's supposed to be 4 by 4. I would just pick one of those sizes and stick with it, and just make them all that size. You can do absolutely whatever you want with the textures, as long as it. I don't know if it's incredibly offensive or grosses people out. Maybe that's something to shy away from. But I would say be as creative as you possibly can be with these, and just do as many as you can. Does that answer your question, Grace?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. With the attendance, I thought there was a tool that I could just go through and whip that out pretty fast. I am still going through. I'm going to try to get that to everybody tonight, if at all possible. And if not tonight, I'll finish it up tomorrow. But I want everybody to know where they stand. There's 3 different ways of taking care of attendance. One, the first is record the code words in these videos, which brings us to today's first code word is freesia. And you can email me the code words. Tell me which video it's for, and then you'll get credit for that. Second way to do it is to attend another one of my classes for this, or another one of my sections for this class. Mornings, most of you guys come in all the time, so if you want to do that and attend the other day's morning, that's okay. I would just recommend letting me know beforehand, and if there's an issue, we'll put a chair out for you in the hallway. That means, excuse me, if the classroom is full, we can't have more than 10 students in the classroom, and you can either work in the hallway or in the room next door, but you'll still, if you're there for the period, then tell me which date you're using that to cover attendance, and we'll take care of it. And the third way is to do those 3 makeup options in the attendance makeup, I think, the absence makeup module. I think it's the 3rd or 4th little module in Canvas. And we've gotten some really interesting feedback on that so far, some very interesting museums that people have found. All righty. If you have more questions about that, attendance and stuff like that, let's talk about it next week. But keep in mind those 3 different ways of making up attendance, and just do your best. Like I said, I don't want to really talk about it anymore today because I want everybody to find out exactly where they stand first, and then you can tell me what you're going to be able to do. All right, now what I would like to do, I'm giving the computer the old man eyes as I scowl and try to focus on stuff. I am going to switch to screen share, and we're going to go over the quiz. All right, can everybody see the quiz?
I can see it.
Okay. Before we start this, I want to go over the roll really fast for the people that are here. Is Kayla here?
Here.
Excellent. Sarah?
Here.
Excellent. Camilla?
Here.
Great. Nicole?
Here.
Good. Bailey?
Here.
All right. Madeline? Is Madeline here? Emma, you're here. Grace, you're here. Is Kelly here? Is Catherine here?
Here.
All right. Is Taylor here?
Hello.
Hey. How about JC?
Here.
Great. Alexis?
Here.
Excellent. Brianna? Brianna, are you here? How about Brooke? Excuse me. Lauren?
I'm here.
Excellent. David?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hiram? Are you here? How about Rachel?
I'm here.
Excellent. And Summer?
Here.
Excellent. Super-de duper. All right. This quiz deals with surface treatments primarily of sculptures. That is important, even whether or not the sculpture has like a natural surface to it. Surface treatments are important to be aware of. A lot of the times when we deal with natural materials, it's also really good to be very aware of the surface texture and colors of the materials that we're working with. How many different, for an example, how many different colors of natural wood are there? Anybody want to hazard a guess? Anybody want to guess on that? How many colors of natural wood there are?
A lot.
Yes, that's the best answer. Same with natural stone. And even if you're working with something like cement, there's going to be a wide range of colors. So this is something to be very aware of. We were talking about finishing off the sculpture with paints and different things like that. Color is something that you can use to give emotion and energy to the sculpture that you build. Now, I know that you guys are all professional artists. Most of you know what these words are. I just would like somebody different to answer to describe each of these, so 6 people to be involved. First one, what is simultaneous contrast? Anyone? When you make a composition, a lot of the times there's going to be like a principal color theme, and you're going to use other colors to kind of emphasize, coordinate, or complement that principal color theme. Simultaneous contrast is when your principal color and the complement have equal value and weight. So basically like a checkerboard with light and dark squares is going to be simultaneous contrast, where it's very hard to tell which is the principal color and which is the complement because they're balanced so well. All right, second is we're talking about color. What is value?
How light or dark something is.
Excellent, very good. How about hue?
That's like whether it's like red, green, yellow, blue, like where on the color wheel it is.
All right, excellent, perfect. Saturation.
Color intensity.
All right, very good. You guys know your stuff. Okay, how would you describe cool colors? What aspect of colors makes them cool or conversely warm? Anyone?
Cool colors are usually tinted towards like the bluer spectrum of colors, where warm colors are more orange, yellow, red. So cool colors are the green, violet, and blue side of things.
Yes, very true. And one of the reasons is if you think about ice, like in photos of glaciers and things like that, what colors are the ice flows generally tending towards?
Blues.
Yeah, exactly. And what colors are fire? Things like fire generally and burns generally turning towards?
Red.
Reds.
Yeah, exactly. So that's your key. Cool colors are blues, and that includes green, blue, and purple. And warm colors are reds, and that includes orange, yellow, and red. Well, yellow isn't red, of course, but it's in that it's not a cool color either. But yellow is also found in fire. You know, come to think of it, that's probably a lousy metaphor because at the very root of the flame, the coolest part of the flame is usually tending towards blue. So
Yeah, but that's like the hottest part, right?
yeah. So,
Like,
but
it's hottest.
I'm sorry. My motive was pure. Sorry for confusing people. But yeah, cool colors generally blue. Warm colors generally yellows and reds. Right. What's subtractive color mixing? Do you guys all work with digital media, or do any of you work primarily with paint?
I'd say 50-50.
When you work with digital media, the colors that you work with, regardless of how the computer program is set up, are usually additive because the colors are made up of uh, different filtered lights or different filtered light. The primary colors for the visible spectrum are red, blue, and green. And when those are added together, they give us the different colors. And primarily it's because the filtered light spectra are layered on top of each other. Now, subtractive color, when you mix pigments, the difference is the pigments will reflect the color and it sucks up everything else. And so subtractive color mixing, when you're working with actual physical pigments, the color that you see is not a factor of filtered light. It's a factor of basically the pigment hides all the colors they don't want you to see. And so that's what subtractive color mixing is just working with pigments. And there's a section that describes that in the textbook. So when you get to this, I would recommend just going through your textbook and having it open in front of you as you're taking the quiz. Any other comments from anybody before we go on to the next question?
Hi, Andrew. I am here. It's Brianna.
All righty. I got you down now. Okie dokie. Our second code word for today is one of my favorite fruits to talk about, not to eat. It's kumquat. Has anybody eaten a kumquat?
Yeah.
Do you like pickled ones or fresh ones better?
I've never had a pickled one, so
Oh, really?
yeah.
I think there are very few things in this world that you will have more incentive to avoid than you will after you try a pickled kumquat. It's not my favorite thing.
It sounds a little gross.
Yeah, it is little and it is very gross. So you're right on both counts. All right. Now, for you painters and things like that, who or what is Roy G. Biv? How old is he? Where does he live? And why would he be involved in an art class?
Well, I don't know how to answer how old Roy G. Biv is, but I know that's an acronym for the colors for the different hues: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet.
Right, and indigo. Yes, very much. It's probably about 16.5 billion years old, I'm thinking, when the first radiation appeared in our universe. But that's just an acronym for the rainbow. And if you forget what all the colors are, just imagine a rainbow and start with red. But yeah, very good. And these are also the colors when you apply a prism to clear white light. It breaks it into 7 distinct colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. All right, now this is one of my favorite questions. I'll send everybody out, or I'll attach to our YouTube channel an excellent video about this, about 4 or 5 minutes long. What is a ready-made, and who is credited with pioneering the use of it? Has anybody heard that term ready-made in an art context?
I have. It's like a found object that they take and like it's already it's already pretty much complete. And I believe Duchamp is the one that pioneered it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. A ready-made is a found object, and what makes it art is just the process of giving it a new context. Marcel Duchamp was the guy who credited the pioneering use of it, and there were a couple reasons he did. One was he thought it was really disparaging to try to be an artist in Europe at the time because you had to go through all sorts of hoops to become part of the gallery system. And he felt that art needed to be accessible to everybody. And the second was he wanted to show people new ways of thinking about what makes art art. Remember our discussion at the beginning of the semester? Art has always been just part and parcel of living. You're creating something new, and it's only relatively recently that art has become something separate and an additional component, that art has become separated into craft and fine art, for example. And Marcel Duchamp wanted to go back to the root, wanted people to reflect back on the roots of art, and that it should be all around. And so, does anybody remember the most famous early ready-made that he did?
The fountain.
Yes, exactly. And what was the ready-made object that he declared was a fountain?
A urinal?
You're right. Absolutely. Can you imagine if you're a hoity-toity gallerist, how offensive that would be? When he displayed it the first time, it actually caused a riot. There are not an awful lot of riots today that happen because somebody's showing off their artwork. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I really like Marcel Duchamp. All right, now next question. We just talked about found materials, a found object. What makes it art is because you're applying a different context to it and you're making people think about it in a different way. Now, what are the two main reasons do you think that people would use or choose to use found objects to make art? There's several different reasons, and I'm looking for two primary ones.
I don't know if this is like a correct answer, but for me, like, I think a lot of artists take inspiration from everyday objects and want to turn them into a different context and like using kind of just how you're talking about like the like water fountain, using those everyday objects to like put a different spin on it and make people see it in a different light and like see it as artwork.
Yeah, and that is one of the two main reasons. That's exactly right. Art is all about, I think, creatively communicating, and a big part of art is helping people to see the world in a new way. And so one of the main reasons artists use found objects is to force people to consider their world differently, to give it new context, just exactly like what you were saying. That's an excellent answer. All right, now what's the second reason? It's a little bit more pragmatic.
Would the second reason have something to do with the meaning that we already associate those objects with? And so, like, when they bring found objects with specific meaning to the table, it's easier to like, it's like shorthand, I guess, for whatever message you're trying to share.
Well, I think what you're talking about is a different facet to the other answer. You're playing with ideas of meaning and people's perceptions, and I think that is incredibly valuable reason to use found objects. I'm looking for an answer that is quite a bit different than what both of you had talked about. That is a little bit more down to earth.
Is it that it's like
materials?
What's that? I'm sorry, two people were talking at the same time.
Oh, I was just saying it's like more practical. Like they don't have to invest as much time and money into like creating these objects when they're already made?
Yes, that is the other reason. It is cost. So a lot of artists will use found objects because it's a lot cheaper to go to the store and get a whole bunch of cups for a project that you're working on than it is to buy a kiln, buy a throwing wheel, teach yourself how to do ceramics, and then throw all the cups yourself. So yeah, so we're talking about economy is the first reason, and then what other people were saying, it's conceptualism, context, meaning is the second primary reason. All right, does that make sense to everybody? If it doesn't, we're going forward anyway. All right, does anybody have any more questions about found objects? When you do your texture tiles, if that's what you're going to be doing, a lot of the texture will come from the found objects that you collect as you're hiking around, walking around, looking up different things to use. For example, noodles and beads are found objects used to make art. When you, in this context, used to make textures for the texture tiles. Now, as we go on, question number 5, I believe there's 7 answers and there's 6 examples. So I'm going to take a break really quick, and I'm just going to do another roll call fast, and then we're going to go back and do this. First, is Madeline here? How about Kelly? Is Brooke here? How about Hiram? All right. Question number 5 shows a series of photos, and the different color schemes used are monochromatic, analogous, complementary, split complementary, triad, tetrad, achromatic, and discord. And what I would like you to do as you go through this, I'm sorry, there's 7 photos and there's 8 options. As you go through this, feel free to change your answers until you're comfortable with it, because we'll look at a couple of these and it could be several different ones, and when we look at later images, it helps us realize what the first one is. One example is right here. This almost looks like it could be monochromatic on the rowan leaves, but if we go down to the red bottle, that's an example of monochromatic. So we come back up here to the rowan leaves and we change that to, let's see, analogous. You guys see what I'm saying? Because this is definitely not monochromatic. We have a dark orange out on the outside, kind of a medium orange, lighter orange, and then a yellow on the inside. So this since they all fit right next to each other, this becomes analogous. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, circle of stones. What do you think this is? We go back up to those different options. Let's see, we already used analogous. Is that one going to be complementary, split complementary, triad, tetrad, or achromatic? Or discord?
Achromatic?
Yeah. I mean, they're all different shades of gray, aren't they? Now, gray can pick up colors, but I think we're talking about achromatic right there. Now, here's a good one. What are the colors in this? What's the color of the fishes?
Complementary.
Yeah, exactly. we got the orange fish and we have the turquoise background. So very much complementary. And that's one of those right there, complementary, the third one. Excellent. What's this one? What's this color? I'm sorry, the mound right in the middle.
Red.
What's the blocks on the far right? The primary color of the blocks.
Yellow.
And what are the other shapes?
Blue.
All right, so we go up here, look at the list. Which on the list is it?
Is it triad?
Yeah, there's 3 of them, aren't there? Excellent. What's this one? Remember what this one is?
Monochromatic.
Yes, perfect. Okay, what about this one? Do you think there's any consistent color scheme used?
Not really.
All right, so if we go up here to the list, which one is it?
Discord.
Exactly. Very good. Now the last one, the clue is right here, right in the sentence itself. Which of those color schemes is this following? If we look up right here, sorry, we've already used monochromatic, we've already used analogous, complementary, achromatic, discord, and triad. The only 2 left we have are split complementary and tetrad. How many colors were in that last image?
4, so a tetrad.
Yep, exactly. All right, so that one makes sense to you all?
Yep.
Excellent. Now, question number 6. There are 4 images that will have either applied or natural color. And there is a tricky one. But since you're watching the film or you're in this class today, you'll handle the trick. Now, is this the natural color of the stone or is it applied?
It looks like a patina or patina.
Yeah, it is patina of age. This sculpture is very old, but this is the natural work stone. So this, and if I'm wrong, I will give everybody points for it anyway, but this is the natural work stone. So the age patina comes just from just the natural weathering over time. So that one is natural and not applied. Now this one, is this natural or applied?
Definitely applied.
Absolutely. Have any of you guys been to the Badlands in South Dakota? Anyone? Or Coral Reef in Utah?
I've been to the Badlands.
When I went there, I saw all of these colors. We went through right after it rained, but that is so freakishly weird. Did it look like an ice cream store exploded to you?
I don't remember seeing that when I went.
Okay. They're just an awful lot. No, that's fine. But yeah, definitely this is all applied because these are way too bright to normally be natural. Now here's one. Is this natural or applied? It's Andy Goldsworthy, and all these leaves are natural leaves, but what did he do to get the color there? Anyone?
He moved to the leaves themselves, so would this be applied?
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Instead of using pigment, he used the color of the leaves. He used the leaves themselves. So this is applied. Very good. Now this last one. Is this color applied or natural? And I believe we are referring to the red. I think the body is natural, but the question is referring to the head. So is that red color, is that natural or applied?
I'm gonna just guess applied.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Now on this one, thank you very much, guys. Now on this one, these are both made with found objects. I really like Betty Saar's work. It is very much in your face without really being violently in your face. I mean, she really confronts perspective. She really confronts prejudice and connotation, but she does it in a way that if you are the typical gallery attendee and you're just going through, you're going to look at it and say, oh, it's a bunch of garbage in a box, and walk away. On the right, John Chamberlain, I don't think he ever did anything that looked like it resembled anything in the real world. He was very intently exploring formal construction and plays a balance of color and form, primarily with things like crushed cars, crushed cans, and crushed metal, because he was very much a part of the economic expansion after World War II. So both of these are made very much with found objects. What is the primary thing that's going on in your mind when you look at Betty Saar's Liberation of Aunt Jemima? Can I get two people to respond to that? Actually, the two responses I would like is one, an emotional reaction, and two, somebody else let me know some of the stuff that you see was used that like garbage or whatever. What can you identify some of the elements that she used putting this together?
Well, so my initial emotional reaction to Betty Saar's work would have, like, it was when I first saw it, like, oh my God, this is like, Jim Crow era stuff. But then, as we now know, or not as we now know, but as I now know, Betty Saar is black, and it's a liberation piece. It's not a offensive or a actual Jim Crow piece. So seeing it now, it's a lot more positive if you understand the context of the artist and not just the Jim Crow era context.
Isn't that fascinating how much it changes and how quickly it changes when you realize the context and who made it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's pretty impressive. Well, okay, well I think that's good. Let's go to the Untitled by John Chamberlain. Let's have somebody else talk about that. Can you either your reaction to it, or can you identify some of the materials that went into it? Thank you, David. I appreciate that when you talk about that, because I love Betty Saar's stuff. I think her stuff is remarkable and powerful, but it's also startling to me how far away from that perspective people get when they just see the surface.
Yeah, it's crazy the difference of that it makes between just knowing about it and just at first glance.
Right. Well, guys, I didn't realize how much time we've used up already, so I'm going to go on pretty quick. But for this question, use one sentence to talk about Betty Saar's thing, and one sentence to talk about John Chamberlain's thing, and then one sentence to just describe what the difference is and how they both used found materials. Now this, I'm just going to talk about it, and I want you to think about it and then just give your own answer. When you guys go to like the little dinky touristy trap towns, there are always things that you can find in the low budget tourist spots. They're basically little bags of stuff with a card saying, well, here's seashells collected from the seashore here. Here is an example of a pine cone from the area, different stuff like that. What Fran does is she goes around on beaches to find the plastic waste, and she will put it into these little 2-ounce baggies and sell it at the tourist shops, which I think is absolutely brilliant, because she's not telling everybody you guys are evil because you dump garbage into the oceans. What she is doing is presenting something to somebody, allowing people to see it for what it is, and start making drawing their own conclusions. And I think that that is much more effective as an artist when you can do that. That engages people into the conversation as opposed to hitting them over the head and trying to make them feel guilty. Can everybody see the difference there?
Yep.
Right, and I think we are at the last question. Okay. Now I'd like to have somebody just mention, if you see something that's blue, what emotion is blue usually associated with?
Sadness.
Yeah, exactly. And if we go with white, what emotion is white usually associated with?
Divineness, purity.
Yeah, I think so. And it's interesting to me that in the example of A, all those colors are rather dark. They feel kind of depressed, and the subject matter, the person sitting on the bench, is not sitting up straight. Their shoulders are slumped. If we look at women on blue bus seat, she's sitting on blue seats, but she herself is white, and her body posture, her body language is completely different. So what I'd like you to do on this, you could do the same thing. Write one sentence about A, what the colors mean to you emotionally. Write a second sentence about B, what the colors there mean emotionally, and then use your third sentence to compare the two. All right, does everybody understand? Is anybody awake?
Yep.
I'm still here, Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
So do you guys understand what I'm saying for that last question, number 9?
Yes.
All right. Great. Now, I'm sorry, I did go a little bit longer than I had intended to. Does somebody have something that they would like to apply the tools of artistic critique to that they could do in like 3 or 4 minutes?
I do.
All right, go for it.
Okay, let me grab my piece really quick.
So when you guys switch into Teams meetings and stuff like that, do you ever forget that your camera's on and like scratch your nose or dig earwax out or anything like that, and then it dawns on you that not only does everybody else in the meeting see what you're doing, but it's also being recorded? Anybody else have that experience?
Not me personally, but my friend posted on her Snapchat the other day, somebody in her class fell asleep with her video camera on and just neck back, mouth open, passed out, and definitely on camera and recording for minutes and minutes and minutes. So it was for my comedic relief. I enjoyed it. It was probably a terrible experience for her.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess that's the downside of COVID stuff. Because when we do things like that, it's immortalized for everybody to see far into the future. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I have my piece now.
Okay.
Can you guys see that? Maybe, oh no, one moment. Still can't see it, dang it. All right, let me log out and then I'll log back in.
Has Brooke joined us, or Hiram? Or has Madeline come in? Okay. All right, that's good. That's it. That's in focus. But oh, your mic's not working. Well, do you want to? Let's
There we go.
this. Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry, I just had myself muted. So what I see is, like with the description, I see a use of flowers and wooden sticks, along with like twine and rope. I see colors like whites, pinks, greens, and tans. I see a lot of geometric and biomorphic shapes. And I notice the flowers first, and it gives me like a happy, like springy mood. With my analysis, I see a lot of differences in texture to create visual interest. The juxtaposition between geometric and biomorphic elements to try and achieve even more visual interest. And perhaps to emulate a mood of growth, since the piece seems to be moving upward with the composition. For my interpretation, the work contains a lot of symbols of life and growth with the flowers. And I believe it is a conceptual, not a formal piece. There is no like historical or cultural commentary that I can see, at least, or pick up on. And I believe the artist wanted to again symbolize growth and life because of the coming spring season, perhaps looking forward to an actual like good year, since last year really sucked, but this year seems to be going better. And I believe the artist's worldview is really optimistic, even with the sadness surrounding us still from COVID and a lot of what we lost. But it seems that this year is, better, and we're getting some of that happiness back. And with my judgment, I feel like this piece is successful in both construction and concept. I feel more uplifted when I look at it, maybe even a little more hopeful. And I feel like the feeling of happiness always has value, especially today. The artist could have tried to pick just one skin instead of like paper and flowers. And I also feel like the artist could have tried to keep the rope a bit neater since it does look a bit messy in some places. And now I'm done.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Well done. Okay, the third code word is altitude. Now, thank you, Brianna. We're just a couple minutes over. So if you have any questions, please keep them and we'll talk about them next week. That was our last quiz. Friday, we will talk about everything else that we need to. Next Friday, we will. And we won't be going over quizzes anymore. Next week, we'll do the exercise where we make that tray with the textures in class. And if anybody does have any more questions, please email me. And when you email me, I will also address the question in class. All right? So does anybody have any pressing thoughts that we need to address right this second? Okay, the second is over, so I guess not. I will send this recording to you guys in just a little bit as soon as I get it. And other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.